Hey everybody, my name is Austin Alesso and welcome to the D&D Help Desk. We're back today, ready to answer some online questions. So, let's do a quick stream check and see what we got. Everyone's having a good week. Yeah, we sound pretty good. Alright, let's get going. Ooh, yeah. Alright. No replies or anything, so we'll go straight into hot here, best. DM Academy. My player averages 112 damage for the first round of every fight. Please help by about 10 pandas. Let's see. Sharpshooter build, I imagine. It's getting ridiculous to the point that it pretty much almost equals the damage of the rest of the party combined. I'm running a group of 6 players through a homebrew campaign loosely based off Storm King's Thunder. They've reached level 10 now, and they're getting pretty strong. I'm running into the normal problems I expected, like the Paladin being impossible to kill because the saving throws bonus is incredibly high AC, the Druid summoning a buttload of beasts every fight to ruin action economy. Yep. And I expect the Arcane Archer Gloomstalker to be this OP. +1 longbow, sharpshooter. You need to nerf the sharpshooter feat. Hands down. Dread Ambusher, Action Surge, Grasping Arrow. If you miss any shots, he throws out a curving shot. I'm not at curving shot. I'm not familiar with that. So let's go to classes. I had to guess it had to be the Gloomstalker Ranger. All right, let's see what we got here. They probably took archery, so they don't miss easily. Dread Ambusher. Starters combat, which lasts until end of turn. If you take the attack action on that turn, that's additional. Oh yeah, it's a multi. Let's see. Nature's Veil. So then it has to be Arcane Archer. The Arcane Archer, is that a wizard? Maybe it was a ranger that was. Arcane Archer. Let's look it up. There are 5e Arcane Archer. Or fighters. Ah, it's fighters, not wizards. Yeah, that would be it. Okay. Yeah, it's a fighter. It was weird. I'm thinking of the Eldritch Knight, I think, for some reason. Let's see what we got. Arcane Archer. Arcane Shot. 3rd level, you learn to unleash special magical effects with some of your shots. You gain this feature, you learn 2 Arcane Shot options. Once per turn, you fire an arrow from a short bow or longbow as part of the attack action. You can apply one of your Arcane Shot options to that arrow. You decide what the option the arrow hits a creature. Unless that option doesn't involve an attack roll, you have 2 uses of this ability, and you gain also many uses if you finish for a long rest. You get additional ones for every 7th, 10th, 15th, 18th level. Banishing Arrow, Beguiling, Bursting, Enfeebling, Grasping. We say Grasping Arrow? Yeah, Grasping. Grasping Arrow. When this arrow strikes its target, Conjuration magic creates grasping poisonous brambles, which wrap around the target. The creature hit with the arrow takes 2d6 poison damage. Its speed is reduced by 10 feet and takes 2d6 slashing damage first time each turn it moves 1 foot or more without teleporting. The targeting creature that can reach it can use its action to remove the brambles with a successful strength athletics check into Arcane DC. Otherwise, they last for a minute until you use this option again. And it increases to 46 when you're 18th. Curving Shot. You learn how to direct an arrow toward a new target. If you miss, you get a bonus action to reroll within 60 feet. Ah. Okay. Alright, so I think we have a pretty good idea exactly what we're dealing with here. Sharpshooter +10 with the archery, +2, and then the -5 is really a -3. But then having like +8, 9, 10 to hit. with a +1. It's going to give you like +7 to hit. An action surge to get like 2 attacks off, and any misses, you can bonus action for once to reroll to get the additional 1d8 +1 for probably 4, plus 2d6, and then 2d6 on that turn. And then Dread Ambusher. Dread Ambusher is going to be the Gloomstalker. Out. Isn't that just advantage? Oh, they get probably advantage or on stealth or something. Bonus initiative rolls. Yeah. I'm gonna get an extra d8 for like a melee attack. Take the attack action, you can make one additional weapon attack. Oh, so it allows you to basically get multi-attack. Oh, interesting. Okay. You got 20 dex, the archery fighting style, so he gets +7 to hit. Yeah, like I said, basically never misses without sharpshooter. You're not going to. Using sharpshooter at +16 damage on top of the d8. Yep. Let's add that up. It's 5 attacks, including Axe and Surge and Dread Ambusher. Because he gets to attack twice, and then duplicate it again, and then bonus action attack. Each with an average roll of 17, an average damage roll of 20. Yep. And then adding to that, a Grasping Arrow Arcane Shot, additional 2d6 on hit, and 2d6 more, that's 12 more damage. Even though 17's missed, he'll just redirect it to the target nearby. It's 112 damage on average every time he's able to pull off this combo. There's literally once a short rest. I know that he needs to get a good initiative roll in order to get the Dread Ambusher, but with the 20 dex score and the Gloomstalker ability, it gives him bonus to initiative. He's usually going before most enemies. I know Adventuring Days are supposed to have many different counters to interact this, but it's difficult to make that work narratively when the party isn't actively exploring a dungeon. It's hard to keep coming up with circumstances that prevent the party from taking short rest. So it's pretty easy for him to know what fights to save his Supernova turn for. If it matters worse, I give my players Christmas related items. Got a really big red nose that lets them see their mist and fog. So basically, they found a really good use for that combined with Fog Cloud to basically give him invisibility during most fights without hampering his own visibility at all. I know I've let him get abused, items going to get mysteriously missing, and that was my fault for not seeing the interaction. They're going to cause problems in our group dynamic, to the point that they will prevent him from getting mind controlled at all opportunities. They'll make sure he's around any time a fight might break out, or their characters have started to feel less and less useful in fights. Noticing our poor bard, cleric, and rogue wizard feel pretty turned off by combat as a consequence. Paladin can kind of keep up, and the druid is crafty enough with his summons that he ends up playing a large role in fights as well. But I feel bad for the others in the group, and this ends up burning the highest level spell slot and not doing a quarter damage. As the damage that took a nap 30 minutes recently. Really not sure what to do about this issue, as when I ran into multi-class before. How'd you deal with it? Apparently Dread Ambusher stacked with action surge. That's an average of 132 damage the first round if he tries to combat. I would probably just, nerf Sharpshooter. It is an OP feat that basically allows so much extra damage. Personally, I just make it so they have to roll 2d6, so it's not a flat 10 damage. That way the average is actually 7. But it's variable. And it can only do 7 to 10. It can't do the actual 12. So that's personally what I would do. I guess I could roll a d4, d6. What is that, 2.5? 6? Yeah, I'd probably just do maybe, I thought about this, but 1d4, 1d6. Sharpshooter. That's what I think. But yeah, Sharpshooter is 100% a big ol' problem of a feat. That, Sentinel and Great Weapon Master, they will break damage builds wide open, especially Sharpshooter, because that is the pinnacle feat. They ignore half cover and 3/4 cover. You don't find disadvantage at long range, and you get the call shot. So, basically just talk with your player, tell them that, they are trying to more or less min-max win the game, and it's impacting people's fun, because you're at a point where trying to sit a difficult enemy against them can increase the HP, but that makes everyone else less useful and their damage even less. It's going to make combat drag on out more and make the players feel like they have less impact. You can go ahead and try to send more lethal things after them, but you know, everyone kind of needs to be the same power level. If one person is egregiously over, like this individual right here, then yeah, it just breaks party balance, and that just breaks a lot of the immersion and fun. One person's trying to basically make this a roguelike they can't lose. So I would just talk to them, realize they've gotten off the rails, and try to redirect it so there's some semblance and everybody can have fun. They can have fun min-maxing, but not break the game. Yeah. It's 4 hours ago. Wow, a lot of replies. So they post anything else. About 10 pandas. If you can once for short rest, give more creatures to attack. Make the creatures, you can always, yeah, you can always do that. But I think this is still a temporary band-aid. And even then, it's one of the things that now you have to throw more enemies at the fight, which, if you don't do well, is going to slow down combat even more. The truth, I had a warlock that once loved to banish the biggest enemy in the party, so as the squad come up with lesser characters. After the power level of my enemies and threw more at them, I adjusted to him. He changed his spell to adjust me. I went back and forth. I don't think I would talk with the problem player, as this way of playing the game shouldn't be a source of tension. As a DM, you are playing the game as well. Chatting the players and seeing how they adapt should be a source of enjoyment. I think it works to an extent, right? It depends on what level the individual is min-maxing that's breaking the gameplay balance and even the fun of everyone else. So I would definitely talk with the players, because he may be one of those players that he only finds fun breaking the game. You know, like he says, starting to cause problem in our group dynamic. Yeah, I mean, they're basically losing agency for risk aversion. So I would talk to the players, because at this point, if you aren't going to talk with the player, you have to talk with everyone else then, because their fun's being impacted. So. Let's see what we got here. Put anything else? Yep, terrain. They're level 10, so you should have like some pretty strong stuff. All right. What we're gonna say here. My advice, if it's starting to impact play, others' fun, and enjoyment with the game, then it needs to be addressed. Period. There are many things that you can do on your end to change how you run encounters or change the encounters that the players fight. Period. Sending more monsters, comma, more varied monsters, comma, environment, comma, light setting, comma, time constraints, comma, let's see, more varied monsters, environment, light setting, time constraints. Better, more challenging monsters when appropriate. What else could you do? I will just put etc. can alter the the challenge without nerfing the player. Dictionary. Nerfing is a word. You can supplement others. You can supplement others' strengths in combat or the adventure if they are feeling left behind. Okay, what else? No. If you feel that you cannot balance or work around the player's build and all of the homebrew, then you should talk with that player about ways you think will help say balance the combat and the combat better suited for the player's overall enjoyment. So my advice is if this one PC is starting to impact play, others' fun, and enjoyment with the game that needs to be addressed. There are many things you can do on your end to change how you are running encounters, or change the encounters that the players fight. Sending more monsters, more varied monsters, environments, light setting, time constraints, more challenging monsters when appropriate, etc. can alter the challenge without nerfing the player. You can supplement other PC strengths in combat or the adventure if they feel left behind. Feel you cannot balance or work around the player's build and all of the homebrew, then you should talk with the player about ways you think will help balance the combat better, suited for players' overall enjoyment. That'd be my advice. But I would personally nerf sharpshooter. That needs a balance change. Of all the feats, that one especially. Damage builds get crazy. And you look more at the math and stuff on that, but it is a bit much. All right, let's go to hot. So we got here in D&D Next by Tabaxi Taxidermist. I think it would be cool if NPC stat blocks included biases for role-playing social interactions. Like what? Like the default humans, like afraid of the tiefling kind of a thing, like they have in the first few pages of the player's handbook. Let's see. For example, you might have a merchant NPC who is easily awed by wealthy individuals, so visibly wealthy characters would have advantage on charisma checks made to influence the merchant. Or you might have an innkeeper who's really attracted to beefy hunks. The characters with 15 more strength get a bonus on charisma checks made to influence the innkeeper. Or the opposite, where patriotic native of one country doesn't like the country's rival or enemies. The characters have penalty. I don't know if they necessarily have to be a stat block. They can be inferred from ideals, bond flaws, the NPC general description, but I'd like it to be cool to have an explicit mechanical trait to remind you to apply these bonuses, penalties, conversations. It also means that sometimes you'd want someone other than the bard chatting up the NPC. I don't think they need to be in a stat block entirely. I think that's just something that could expand upon further with NPC stat building and DMG Chapter 4. But yeah, no, it's definitely, this is a better way to build NPCs, especially merchants if you're going with that. But I wouldn't add it to a stat block. I think stat blocks are more or less pretty good where they are. I mean, this isn't like really like in-game, like the stat blocks more or less facilitate things for combat, right? I think that's probably like my main issue with this. Doesn't it have to be in a stat block? Say this. Like you said, I don't think this should be put in stat blocks. Period. Stat blocks are there specifically for creatures engaging in combat. Ergo, if a creature isn't going to fight them naturally, then it doesn't need a stat block. Period. I do think that it could be further expounded upon with DMG Chapter 4, creating NPCs, as a neat table or couple paragraphs about different ways to create merchant NPCs and the like. Period. I'm gonna double check. I believe it is chapter 4. Yep, creating NPCs. And know my stuff. Always double check though. Like you said, I don't think it should be put in stat blocks. Stop blocks. Nope. Nice try though. Stat blocks are there specifically for creature engaging in combat. Ergo, if a creature isn't going to fight them naturally, then it doesn't need a stat block. Except the hobo-ish adventuring party. A stat block. Let's see, not always the case if you DM for the murder hobo adventuring party. I do think it could be further expounded upon within DMG Chapter 4, creating NPCs as a I guess it would be a bond law. What would that be? Is bond specifically in relation to others? Kind of curious. I feel like it'd be a bond. I don't know if bonds are specific. In a sentence, summarize the people, places, or things that are especially important to the NPC. Character's background. I guess it'd be interactions with others. Yeah, it'd be interactions with others. Yeah, deal. Page 90. DMG chapter, or DMG 90, chapter 4, creating NPCs. Let's do DMG page 90 as a table for the interactions with others section. Let's see, I do think it could be further expanded upon with DMG 90 as a table for the interaction with others section. We'll say, and a paragraph, a couple paragraphs about different ways to create merchant NPCs, and the like. I think this idea is a great way for not only players to remember specific NPCs, but also have a backdrop for politics within the campaign. Period. Okay. I think this idea is a great way for not only players to remember specific NPCs, but also have a backdrop for politics in the campaign. Cool. It would be cool if included biases. I'm not reading that his title is different than his last remarks. Don't necessarily have to be in a stat block. I'll leave it. Yeah, it shouldn't go in the stat block. It's only for combat stuff. That is superfluous. Umber adapted underwater rules. That's... Ooh, okay, it's simple. Games to 3D print minis. Nope. Bountiful Harvest, an extended encounter chain for single adventures. We got here. Events, first encounter. Harvest. Multi-setup encounter. Go ahead and pass. The Hedgehog. Okay, D&D monsters. Let's see what we got here. Oh, the Hedgehog. Oh no. Cute and cuddly critters with inquisitive snouts, tough underbellies. A hedgehog. The hedgehog or hedgehog? The hedgehog is none of these things. See. Hedgehog. Make a distinction. It is a monstrous corruption of primordial ooze. Ferociously twisted beast of disease and deadly appendages. Unsimple hedgehogs. The oozing dread. So they mutated. Okay, that's what we got here. So hedgehog we have over here. Yeah, we can see what it is. Small monstrosity, chaotic evil. Okay. 14 AC, 22 hit points. 5 feet. Okay, pretty much ooze stats. Bit of stealth. Oozes typically don't have stealth. Okay, that's interesting. Poison. Alright, the hedgehog has countless spikes. Use spikes to grow by the time the hedgehog finishes a long rest. Part of each turn, the hedgehog deals 5 piercing damage to any creature grappling it. Taking damage causes a disease effect described below. Oozing disease. The creature is damaged by the hedgehog's spikes, which it has a ranged attack to do so. It has 2. It's a CR1 with multi-attack. Not like super rare. It is typically for creatures that aren't humans. Doing multi-attack. Sure. If any creature is damaged by the spikes, it must succeed on a DC 12 con saving throw against disease. Become poisoned until the disease is cured. For 24 hours that elapse, the creature must repeat the saving throw, reducing its hit point max by 1d10 on failure. The reduction lasts until the disease is cured. Creature dies is reduced to 0. That's pretty nasty. Okay, I like this. I think it's pretty interesting. I mean, I think it's, you know, pretty level appropriate. I would say having multi-attacks kind of weird, but that would be my only criticism. But that, I think it looks really cool. Piece of art I commissioned. Cool. Yeah. My only critique of this would be that most CR1 monsters don't have multi-attack unless they're humanoids attacking with weapons. Period. Besides that, I think everything is great. Period. Okay, most CR1 monsters attack. We'll have multi-attack on unless they are humanoids attacking with weapons. Look at that. Very cool thing. I like it. Okay, what else we got? A Death House. Ooh. Okay. Oh, it's actually a pretty fire map. Well done. This is one of the best looking death houses I've seen. Period. One of the best looking death house that I've seen. Cool, we'll set that for later. Might download it. I have to recheck which maps I have. Do corrupted monsters. Okay. Now, this is kind of fruitless. And it's offering advice. I'm more for helping people. Do okay, it seems pretty interesting. We'll actually take a small break and we will be right back, ready to answer this question. Alright, everybody, we are back here, and let's go ahead and dive back into things here on DM Academy. By user janitor OP, please nerf. One of my NPCs would likely have a crush on the wizard. He hates her. How can I make this as uncomfortable and toxic as possible to mess with him? One of my NPCs would likely have a crush. He hates her. Is that the wizard hating the female NPC? Because then it says, how can I make this as uncomfortable and toxic as possible to mess with him? So I assume it is a male player playing a female NPC that wants to hit on the male wizard. I think that's what we have here. Well, we'll move on. Before I get to any keyboard, warrior saying it's completely inappropriate. Totally cool. My players out of the game. They're free to pursue the relationship or drop out anytime they want. Okay, so they said they were fine with some stuff. Some players wouldn't be good with it. So cool. My wizard has a rival NPC. She's not from his backstory. She's one of my own making. She runs a little magic shop in town. Okay, so the wizard, by his own admission, has to be the smartest person in the room. It's nearly a compulsion for him. He begrudgingly accepts his mentor, but he merely assumes that due to his age, he expects it to pass him soon. The right amount of time came up organically. I planned very little of this from the start. In fact, this is where my real time writing much of this out. This is why I feel I should pursue this. Enter this witch, Pinna, with concept from Matt Colville, but made slightly tweaked personality. Okay, 19-year-old prodigy. She always runs her own magic shop. She has a saccharine, sweet exterior, but internally she has her own superiority complex. Alright, so egos of intelligence. Alright, she doesn't like anyone being ahead of her. She still sees her friends getting engaged, in some cases having kids. She doesn't like that at all. She's looking for a significant other who can increase her standing and sense of self-worth. Yes, this is a super toxic reason to seek a relationship. That's the point. So she is... Okay, so as an individual, Pinna is trying to increase more or less her standing in society and her own kind of cadre of wealth. So, my wizard is a superior in combat and prodigious tracker, so from Ranger family. Uses her money, influence, and power to flex on him as much as possible. They've had a teasing frenemy relationship since the campaign began. Okay, Pinna would want this relationship for 3 reasons. Intellectual, can keep track of his progress, stay ahead. Totally attracted to dark brooding types. How can I advance this subplot? Got a few ideas, but social stuff's hard for me to write. I think she invites him out for a picnic. She might hire some local orcs to kidnap her as a bait to see if the wizard will pursue her. Ooh. If we're going down this, that's actually a really good idea. Ultimately, should try to get him give up his life adventuring and settle down with her far earlier than is wise. Let's see if they put anything else in the description for us. If he leaves her captured by the orcs, then that is planning well wasted. That would be hysterical. Left potion's a great idea. I did the dust of deliciousness trick. You get disadvantage on the saving throw. The modified charm person. Yeah, go ahead and still pin if you wish, based on myself. She's not quite as toxic as the original version. But it will fit my setting to crank up the awfulness. The picnic idea sounds great for some in-depth role play. Really get the wizard to express social skills or lack thereof. The orc idea sounds fun. But being, oh well, that's a bit of planning out the window. Love filter as a saving throw. Yeah, that is very true. Please read the first bolded paragraph. Oh, didn't read. A bit of an argument here. You already said all that. Yeah, so people not reading the post, and he said it's fine. We'll take him at his word. Let's see. I would accept her last session was loading a magic escape room tower. I think that's some good ideas here. And yeah, not being rude. Yeah, I'm gonna upvote that. People need to read the first paragraph here. So I can make this uncomfortable and toxic as possible to mess with him. I really like the orc kidnap bait idea. After this, I really like the plotted kidnapping plan. Period. I also have an idea to pitch. Period. What if there is a renowned bard that is seeking to write a new song about the wisest, most intelligent person in the land? Period. He has auditions for people to come and prove their intelligence, and both Pinna and the player character both show up and are the last two that have to go to the duel intellectually. Period. If the player character fails this brain off, then you could have Pinna lose on purpose and make it so that the player character knows that she did that for him. Period. I like the plotted kidnapping plan. I also have an idea to pitch. What if there is a renowned bard? Why did I do 2 Ds? That is seeking to write a new song about the wisest, most intelligent person in the land. He has auditions for people to come and prove their intelligence and both Pinna and the player character, the characters show up and order the last two show up, period. Say these two go through the audition, maybe like a spelling bee. And are the last two, say, remaining contestants. I don't know, contestants. Last two remaining. The player character fails this brain off, and you could have Pinna lose on purpose and make it so that the player character knows that she did that for him. Make it so that the player character knows that she threw. This could allow for a more if he wins, she begrudgingly congratulates him and tries to seduce him over dinner, period. If wins, she begrudgingly congratulates him, say invites him on a picnic and tries to seduce him. What if the player character wins? Ooh. Ooh, that's pretty good. If the player character wins the brain off, then Penna storms off, seemingly enraged. Period. Maybe a day or two passes, and then people start to murmur that she's not been seen, but that she was headed near a local orc stronghold, or wherever the orcs are. Period. People begin to think that she was trying to find something to make her more intelligent. Maybe it's home. What is the... I don't know how we're gonna do this. I think I spent a little too much time here, but I think it's a pretty decent idea. What do we have? It is the Tome of Intelligence. Items. Tome of Knowledge. Tome of Understanding. Her wisdom increases by 2. Clear Thought. Intelligence. Tome of Clear Thought. People begin to think let's do this. Does she have an assistant? If so, then the assistant says that she left trying to negotiate with the orcs to find a Tome of Clear Thought. Int +2. Very rare magic item. I would try to guilt trip the PC into feeling bad and somewhat responsible for her feeling that she lacks intelligence to defeat them, and had to resort to these measures. Period. All right, that's I think a pretty decent idea. Let's see, if the player character wins the brain off, go ahead and hyphenize that. Then Penna, I have to write her name in every time, storms off, seemingly enraged. Maybe a day or two passes, and then people start to murmur that she's not been seen, but that she was headed near a local orc stronghold, or wherever the orcs are. Does she have an assistant? If so, the assistant says that she left trying to negotiate with the orcs to find a Tome of Clear Thought. Intelligence +2, very rare magic item. I would try to guilt trip the player character into feeling bad and somewhat responsible for her feeling that she lacks intelligence to defeat them, and to resort to these measures. That would be my advice. Cool. I guess this is an interesting, seemingly, as everyone is on board with this. That sounds really fun. My player summoned 8 monsters near a town. What should I do with this? What kind of monsters do we have here? Blistered butthole. Let's see. One of my players has a bag of beans, and she used it to try to cover her escape in a dungeon right next to town they're staying in. Property should roll summon 8 monsters. I want to use for next session. The 2-player party level 5. Let's see, bag of beans. Let's look at the specifics. That's crazy. That's you know, an entire player character would use the bag of beans and chaos would ensue that would threaten the town. Absolutely crazy. Oh. Alright, so we got here bag of beans. Is it 8 random? But I don't remember it being 8 random. Property she rolled summoned 8 random monsters the DM's choice. Only there's only one bag of beans. Let's see here. Toadstool sprout, geyser erupts with some liquids, treants. An animate immobile stone in your likeness rises and then like castigates against you. Blue flames burn forth. Shrieker sprout. Bright pink toads crawl forth. A hungry bullet. A fruit tree grows. And 1d8 of which acts as randomly determined magic potions. Ah, no, it's a toads. Whenever a toad is touched, it transforms into a large or smaller monster of the DM's choice. It remains for a minute, then disappears. I think it's that one. Because the fruit acts as a poison if ingested, remains 30 days. An egg springs up from a nest. The creature that eats it has to make a save. Permanently increases its lowest ability score by 1. Ooh. On a failed save, you explode. Pyramid with Mummy Lord and the Cloud Giant. Whenever a toad is touched, I think it has to be that one. Now let's see if they... Perhaps the beans grew a plant with mind control spores taking over the beast. Eight random monsters of the DM's choice, where she threw it. Because you can dump it on the ground, expanding the beans. Each creature in the area must make a dex save or fire happens. If you remove a bit and plant it, then an effect happens. Working back on what you've written, I assume that they rolled between 51 to 60 and got the 1d4, 1d8 plus 4 pink toads. Period. Oh. That. Pink toads. It specifies that the toads only transform if touched into a monster of the DM's choosing. Then say then appears after 1 minute. Working back what you've written, I assume. Let's go ahead. I'll go ahead and say this. Just I assume they roll between 51 to 60 and got the 1d8 plus 4 toads. It specifies that the toads only transform and touch to a monster of the DM's choosing, not Dean's. Minute. Just a mechanics clarification there. What are they, level 5? Oh, that's what we have here. So, Bestiary. It'd be 8, so let's go probably CR2. Sounds pretty good. Take tag off, reset everything. Let's go the other way. Shadow Mastiff. A shark. See, okay. There. You can try to foreshadow a more difficult monster if you are feeling more difficult monster, or even throw a deadly monster at them that disappears. I think one of them being a shark stuck on land sounds humorous. For a more traditional but fun fight, a combination of ochre, jelly, shadow, mastiff, what else? Got a druid, you got a centaur, berserker, an allosaurus, Saurus, and what else we have? I don't know. I think one more. That's kind of just random. Let's see what we have here. A confused gift that is not hostile, but really confused. And some randoms. Sound good to me. All right. So you can try to foreshadow a more difficult monster, even through a daily counter at them. Disappears. I think one of them being a shark stuck on land sounds humorous. We'll go ahead and do more traditional but fun fight combination of ochre jelly, shadow mastiff, one word or 2 words, not separated by a comma. An allosaurus, a confused gift that is not hostile but really confused, with a thick British accent. Sound memorable to me. Okay. Cool. That sounds pretty interesting. Van Richten. Not bad, actually. Bad at all. Yester Hill. Okay. Okay. Not bad. Probably save that. And we'll go ahead and upvote. Would giving each class max hit points every level unbalance the game? Not entirely. Yeah, we can help with this one. Over on D&D Next by Solo Kip. We're giving each class max hit points every level and balance the game. Right now, a barbarian gets on average an extra 3 hit points per level over the wizard, assuming equal constitution. By giving max hit points, a barbarian would get an extra 6 per level. Combining that with rage, effectively doubling the hit total is functionally 12 hit points per level. I don't really care about party versus DM balance. I want to give the party the extra hit points so that I can use stronger monsters and different resting rules. What different resting rules? I want more gritty, slower. I'm more concerned about the balance between party members. Will it make the wizard too squishy in comparison to the barbarian? Depends on what monsters you throw at him, ultimately. I would say you kind of nerf Constitution as like a prerequisite. So if players know this going into it, then they're going to kind of min-max. So I do think you make like Constitution a tad bit more trivial. Did I put anything else? Oh yeah, the barbarian's D12 hit die is 7, not 6. They did say that. Good point. Let's see. I tend to hate house rules because you tweak one thing and a lot of stuff goes out of whack. I'm thinking to combine this variation gritty realism. Yep. That is what I was thinking. The variant of gritty realism. Once you have long rest, you cannot gain the benefits of a long rest, so you have spent a week of downtime. That's good. Yeah. So they're in the whole gritty realism. So go ahead and copy this, and we'll do that. We'll back that up. So will it make the wizard too squishy in comparison to the barbarian? Depends what you throw at it. Obviously, if it's something that requires a lot of saves, no. It's something that hits really hard, probably. It depends on what you throw at them encounter wise. Let's just not go too wordy. I would say that game design wise, you are making Constitution a bit less meaningful if they automatically get max hit points per level up. Let's see, you're making Constitution a bit less meaningful. Not entirely, but still a bit less meaningful. I would say to do balancing party members. Say this. Since you are going upon with more gritty realism, this may work out, but you are going to have to put a lot more work into encounter design and how this is balanced around a week of rest. Period. The basis of 5th edition is that most adventuring parties will fight 5 to 8 encounters a day. Period. There should be some good information online on how to adapt this. Period. All right, so we have, since you are going with more gritty realism, this may work out, but you're going to put a lot more work into encounter design, not Calistar. And how this is balanced around a week of rest. The basis of the edition most major parties will fight 6 to 8 encounters a day. Well, I'll say we'll fight. We'll engage with 6 to 8 encounters a day. I just get information online on how to adapt this. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it depends on what you throw at them encounter-wise. The worst thing for the wizard is going to be spell slot usage with gritty realism. Period. Gritty realism is going to have a greater impact on the actual efficacy of the wizard, more so than his hit point stuff. Alright, Curse of Strahd guide. What do you still need to run Dark Sun in 5e? I don't know. Dark Sun is not one I am all the most familiar with mechanically in the setting. I know the basics. Barebone basics. But yeah, it would be pretty cool. If anyone else says anything about having some supplements or something. Psionic class of power system. Yeah, I hope it's not the Unearthed Arcana psionic system, because that's just ridiculous of a class with too much that does everything. Elemental clerics. Solid Road. Let's see what we have here. Re-uploaded. Resource. The Utshatsa. And the Vatkest. Terror and Terror Bat. Large bat-like creatures. Stalk the Drakewald. New Daze condition. Can't take actions or can't take reactions. You can either action or bonus action. Wait, on a turn, it can use either an action or bonus action as well as movement, so one or both. You just use your action. It can't make more than one melee. Requires concentration. Oh, so it's like a modified. It's like a half step on like being stunned or whatever. You vampire spawn. Okay. Cool. I'm gonna go ahead and say very cool idea. Period. When I ran Curse of Strahd, I made the Gloom Guard 4 knights that serve Strahd as his right hand that flew upon giant bats. Period. These would have made great mounts for them. Period. I ran Curse of Strahd. I made the Gloom Guard 4 knights that serve Strahd as his right hand that flew up on mounted giant bats. These would have made great mounts for them. Cool. Let's see. Behind the scenes, D&D, okay, advertisement. Fighting a dragon, remember that half cover grants +2 to dex saving throws, and creatures provide half cover. Technically, yes. Technically, yes, they do. Ooh, animated map. Okay, it's restricted. That's yeah, it's what's his name? Celie von Holtz? No, it's Heinrich van der Voort. That's yeah, Heinrich. Okay, here we go. D&D next. By Timeless Millennium. Helping a newer DM with his frustration toward my Blade Singer's AC. Is it what Blade Singer? Is that a fighter? Is that a bard? Let's see. Classes. Like a bard to me. Blade Singer. 6 more not shown. Okay. Blade Singer 5E. What class is that? Wizard. Ah, yes, of course. The Blade Singer. Wizards are known for their blades that sing. Not the fighter, or, of course, the bard. Silly me. Okay, so curious. Cantrip versatility. You can replace your cantrip. Yep. Blade singing. Blade singers are elves who bravely defend their people and lands. Okay, it makes more sense of elvish design. Forgot about that. They're elf wizards who master a school of sword fighting grounded in a tradition of arcane magic. They use a series of intricate, elegant maneuvers to fend off harm and allow the blade singer to channel magic. You adopt the tradition, you get proficiency in light armor and a melee choice, you get performance. During a second level, you can invoke a secret elven magic called the Blade Song, provided you aren't wearing medium or heavy armor or using a shield. It graces you with supernatural speed, agility, and focus. You use a bonus action to start the Blade Song, lasts for a minute. It ends early if you are incapacitated. You get a minute-long buff. You don't use medium or heavy armor or shield, or use 2 hands to make weapon attack. Basically, 1 hand, can't be uncapped, lasts a minute, bonus action activation. You can also dismiss it, free action. While Blade Song is active, you get bonus to AC equal your int modifier. Okay. So they're basically using light armor with high dex, high int. So 12 plus dex modifier plus int. You're easily looking at 18, 19 AC. You get an extra 10 feet of walking speed. You have advantage on acrobatics checks, and you get bonus any con saving throws you make to maintain concentration. Oh, that's really cool. And you get to use it equal to proficiency bonus on back on long rest. Okay. Excuse me. Okay, starting at 6th level, you get extra attack, not 5th. Interesting. Okay, that's about it. Let's see. Just wanted to gain some helpful tips. I'm running a joint game with an A story and B story. On the A story for about 10-15 sessions, the DM runs the B story for 3 to 4. Allows us to switch back and forth into the game as players and enjoy the overall game. Okay. I have some experience, but the other DM is new. We all rolled our characters in front of one another to come up with our base stats. We're currently level 6 and have a +4 in both dex and int. Okay, so yeah, you're looking at minimum 20 AC. So I cast Mage Armor with Blades Singing. It becomes 21. Then cast Haste against the Big Bad for 23. And use Shield as reaction to make 28 when needed. Obviously, for new DM, having a take like that can be frustrating. Strength is 0, Charisma -1 was +1. I suggest mixing in traps for spells that target my weaknesses, but I can tell he's angry. He just keeps saying it's OP. Well, it's only used for a minute. But yeah, if they're just stacking all these to become a tank, basically having more enemies to basically require more shield usage, having basically make them have saves instead of attacks or ways to do that. You know, traps are one thing you can do. There's plenty of enemies that require you to make saves versus AC. So if it's becoming so that even supposedly or purposely challenging encounters are trivial because of that, you need to kind of mix up the enemy, I guess, damage variety and such. So the wizard's fear. How do the wizards? AoE attacks or save attacks, yeah. The level 5e is bad about providing those. Yeah. Okay, they don't put anything else. That's what we're gonna say. The you are devoting a great deal of resources and not only spell levels or spell slots, but also with your class abilities, of which you can only use 3 times per long rest or up to a minute. Basically one encounter, period. If this is causing a problem for even challenging encounters, then it comes down to DM encounter design being more of an issue than the class being OP. Period. Considering you're level 6, there are plenty of enemies that are getting into a tougher threshold that have AoE spells, AoE effects, single target spells, or even attacks that require saving throws. Period. All of these are counters to a high AC. Period. Alright, you are devoting a great deal of resources, and not only spell levels, and not only spell slots, but also with your class abilities, of which you can only use 3 times per long rest for up to a minute. This is causing a problem for even challenging encounters. For the DM, it comes down to encounter design. We have encounter design being more of an issue than the class being OP. Concerning your level 6, there are plenty of enemies that are getting into a tougher threshold that have AoE spells, AoE effects, single target, AoE spells, AoE effects, or damage, single target spells, or even attacks that require saving throws. All these are counters to a high AC. Yes, AoE is a word and dictionary. maybe they don't know how to handle tier 2 encounter design versus tier 1, and they and there are some good we'll say videos on how to do so by do so on YouTube. Matt Colville's running the game series has a good episode on, I believe it is in on let's design an encounter. Cool. All right, that'd be my advice there. Nope, you just gotta come at it from different angles and kind of, if you're trying to make a challenge, that is. Not every encounter has to be challenging, but you do want to have a good variety of challenging encounters, hard encounters, easier encounters. They're not all going to be balanced, but you can help at least make sure you're not running the same type of enemies that the apparently Bladesinger is very inured to, with high AC and statistical probability. Offering advice, and thanks. Roles in having an illiterate learn to read. Huh. Okay. Hunter 7067, Game Academy. Your literate barbarian seems to have decided he wants to learn to read and fully support that. I was thinking of using a threshold-based system where he rolls int while studying, and his rolls accumulate to add up in order to hit milestones in learning to read. It would be, my recommendation would be Xanathar's Guide to Everything. Try and have a downtime activity that takes X threshold, as opposed to anything else. He actually owns a book on how to learn advanced reading that I improvised during an exchange with a librarian, making the joke that they have a book to learn to read, but you need to know how to read. Then there's rules for downtime training. Yep. That's pretty much it. I want to see what page specifically that is on. Let's see here. Spellcasting, counter building, redesigned, a bit more complicated than it needs to be. Guys, kit. All right. Yeah, chapter 2. Tool proficiencies, you have. Find a spell, maybe it's the other way. Matchups. Move past all this. Okay. Wow. A lot of encounter tables. Okay, so we got traps. Downtime activities. Downtime activities. Starting on page 125. To do that, I would probably do it as like crafting an item, actually. Or research complications. Go to magic items, training. Here it is, page 134. Yeah, training sounds good to me. Yep, training, receiving training in a language or a tool. Yeah. 134. GE 134 is the page. I was going to suggest this. I'm glad to see that you did. Period. This is what I would use. For reference, it is this. User slash. Yep, Dr. Dance. Cool. Yep, that is a good one. All right. Player aid, Barovia. Tarot card reading, resurrection effects. Do your players generally prefer ambient sound or background music in town? Anybody gonna post? Never done anything. Oh, I think it's really important. Got enough juggle already. Yep. I'm actually gonna reference some of my stuff that might help. Tabletop audio. Tabletop audio is amazing. So we'll go ahead and post this down here. Then I always go with music. Period. It, of course, is more work, but music does a key job of setting the tone and the emotional impact that a encounter or that the general ambiance should feel. Period. It helps add in a key information to the void of the imaginative storytelling. Period. If you're wanting to try this, what I do for my online games is use clean feed to pipe in my browser audio from tabletopaudio.com. Period. Wait, is that going to work though? I also use Voice Meter Banana when I do that. No, it helps. I probably just need to reference that. I also use Discord, Spotify. Now I also have a program called Voicemeeter Banana that I use, but I feel that you should be able to use the Clean Feed Tabletop combo together. I always go with music. It, of course, is more work, but music does a key job of setting the tone and emotional impact that an encounter or what the general ambiance should feel like. It helps add in key information to the void of the imagination. Helps add in key information. It helps to add in emotional information and breaks dead silence. Yeah, that should be good enough. For that sentence, you wanted to try this. What I do for my online games is use... Okay, we'll cut that. Clean Studio in my browser. What I do for my online games is use Clean Feed Studio to pipe in my browser audio from tabletopaudio.com. Oh, I actually kind of got it right. We'll put that there. I also use Spotify. I also use Spotify, a premium as the basis for my encounter music. I've been browser audio from tabletopaudio.com, which has great ambient music as basis for my counter music. Now I also have a program called Voicemeeter. I also have a it is an audio mixer program called Voicemeeter Banana that I use. But I feel that you should be able to use the Clean Feed and tabletop audio combo together. Free or freely. Yep, that's my recommendation. I don't think I want to add anything else. I would always add it personally. It helps do a lot of the heavy lifting on some things. Cool. Alrighty here. Oh, this is a good one. Acknowledging that rests are a game mechanic and treating them as such. A lot of problems here with the rest system of 5e comes down to a simple fact. Players are in control of when they get the benefits of a rest. What follows is basic human psychology. Humans are risk averse. Yeah, Matt Colville does a very talks about that at length in episode 2 of running the game. Then when the characters die, so they take a rest before they're even in real danger. Yep. Normal combats become trivial because they always go Nova. The game tries to make combat harder by making encounters deadlier. Just make more encounters. Players were further than always be fully rested mentality because now they will die. You're not fighting a dragon turtle level 6. Probably hyperbole there, I hope. If GM controls and players get benefits of rest, none of this happens. However, how do you decide when players get rest? You do it by the following game mechanics: the infringing day, a long rest per 6 to 8 medium encounters, and 2 short rests per long rest. Yep. 6 to 8 medium encounters. Why would this work in practice? Firstly, characters still need to sleep, and they would gain exhaustion if they don't. The idea of sleeping and getting the benefits of a rest are now completely detached. 7 players complete an encounter of a certain milestone, which is narratively appropriate. You just give them the benefits of a short rest. When players complete an adventuring day's worth of encounters, this is kind of going with the game design of, well, you made it to the campfire, now you can rest kind of mentality. Adventuring Day does become a bit of a misnomer with this approach. This one Adventuring Day can span months, while the next one spans only a few days. Basic Adventuring Day would be medium, medium, short rest, medium, easy, medium, short rest, hard, long rest next day. Trivial, you can mix it up. Strahd coming in. So deadly, normal, hard. So deadly short, normal short, hard short. Does this make your players' fault if they die? Remember that a 6-8 medium. You throw a deadly encounter your players, account for that. Look at the DMG, so that the adventurers have more easy encounters, they can handle more. They do a numeric system. Doesn't this utterly destroy verisimilitude? And of course, if you say now we're at initiative, you gain the benefits of a short rest, 2 more counters for the long rest. Yeah, you're going to break verisimilitude over if you narrate it. You only retain verisimilitude, but get other benefits. You have full of responsibilities onto your players. You get even more benefits. Give players a chance to develop their character further, reinforce their characters personally. Some RP. Let them control their narrative. They go for each class. Okay. All right. I do like the each class, but this is just a difference in game design. Ultimately, directly tying when the benefits of arrest are gained to milestones in the adventuring day and moving authority when those occur solves many of the issues 5e have, such as a 5-minute adventuring day and characters going Nova. You can also circumvent this by having actual time limits, essentially. Right? Using a gamified rest system has the following advantages. Okay. Probably a bit enamored with the idea, because it seems like an easy problem to fix. If you're reading, have a nice day. So yeah, let's see if they post anything else. But I think, you know, it comes down to, if you're going to keep the 5e rest system, you have to encounter it in ways that aren't really showed in order for it to really be somewhat challenging, right? You need to have like backdrop, and it really comes down to time. You know, if adventurers want to do this and they want to take multiple days, they can. What are they ultimately losing? It has to be a give and take. And a lot of issues come down to time constraints. Are there time constraints? They have to be someplace at some amount of time. If you give them all the time in the world and time doesn't have a construct or even meaning, then they'll take as many rests as they can. Player decisions. Yeah. And that's the other thing. I think 5e kind of, you know, needs to keep the decisions open to the players, and they need to understand the reasonable consequences for their actions of resting, let's say, in a dungeon or something like that. It does kind of railroad choice though. So So do. Let me just read a bit more. I have some ideas. I need to piece them together. How this work in practice. Go on to explain how the GM does things. Oh, I do like the way they did that. I think that this construction alleviates a lot of the problems with 5th edition open-ended player agency-driven rest. Period. But it does simplify and deny the players agency and part. I think this construction alleviates a lot of the problems with 5th edition. With 5e in player-driven rest part. I don't think that is inherently a bad thing, just a different aspect of game design and balance. Period. What I would advocate is implementing timescales into your world. Period. If the players have deadlines for quest or for main story arcs, then this alleviates a lot of the risk aversion resting. Players have deadlines for quest. Sensible ones, of course, not just arbitrary. Sensible ones to, I'll say, maintain verisimilitude or a more, or if you don't care, then for balance reasons, or for main story arcs, for main story arcs and plots. And this alleviates a lot of the risk aversion resting. Risk aversion resting. Risk of aversion, no D in there. Quest or so yeah. So you can do that. I love the way the renewed vigor for each class. That is a great touch. How would this work in practice? This construction alleviates a lot of the problems with 5e open in player-driven rest, but it does simplify and deny the player's agency in part. I don't think that is inherently a bad thing. Okay, it's inherently a bad thing in a bad thing is a different aspect of game design and balance. What I would advocate, I don't think it's inherently always, say always, bad thing, just a different aspect of game design and balance. What I would advocate is implementing timescales in your world. Players have deadlines for quests, and one to maintain verisimilitude, or if you don't care, then for balance reasons, or for main story arcs and plots, and to leave with a lot of the risk aversion resting. The world's a moving place, and it moves on with or without the players. The world is a busy place and moves and continues to live without the players. At least that's the illusion. Period. Maybe they spend too much time resting and they literally miss the boat for another quest. That they had planned on doing. Period. Maybe they took so long with the last quest that there's a rival faction of mercenaries willing to do it faster and for less. Period. But without the players, at least that's the illusion. They spent too much time resting and they literally missed the boat for another quest that they had planned on doing. Maybe they took so long the last quest that there is a rival faction of mercenaries willing to do the quest faster and for less. I do like the downtime resting class. I do like the renewal of vigor dialogue for each class. I do like your renewal of vigor dialogue for each class. And period. I do think that this is a good substitution for 5e for individuals who wish to implement it. Period. I like your renewal of vigor. G. They put U. I like for each class that you added. I think this is a good substitution for 5e for individuals who wish to implement it. Yeah, it was yeah. Personally, I think that despite some of the issues with players resting too much or even wanting to, I wouldn't implement this change and allow them to suffer the consequences of resting if there are any, and maintain the decision to do so. Personally, I think that despite some of the issues of players resting too much or even wanting to, I wouldn't implement this change and allow them to suffer the consequences of resting, if there are any, and maintain the decision to do so. Time constraints are a bit more work narratively. Let's say time constraints are more work narratively, but have resolved most issues with resting for me, at least. More work narratively, but have resolved most issues with resting for me, at least. Narratively. Gotta be a word, right? Oh, yeah, totally. Did I spell it? Nope, I spelled it right. Okay. Cool. All right. That works for them. That's cool. As long as the players kind of understand and are cool with it. Am I going too hard? "17 hours ago. Running one shot tomorrow. I don't think I'm gonna be able to do it." Yeah, we'll just skip that one. New beholders. Never forever DM, enabling DMs to play. Basically, it's kind of trading points around to play with their DMs. Okay. Create a customized Discord server that enables find games with one another. Might Discord sounds interesting to me. We'll go ahead and chat them up real fast. Sounds interesting, at least to have another group of DMs. Or, you know. I saw your post on / Dungeon Masters, and it seems, and I'm interested. I'll just put it at. Leave it at that. Okay. Should a DM state the exact number of an attack roll before damage? All right. A lot of stuff here. 113 comments, 89. Question: I have a character, a lot of reactions on which shield is basis for my question. Shield reads, yeah. I have a PC, roll 24, without much point in spending a spell slot to activate a shield. Oh, this is a quest. I have a character. Oh, so this is a player asking, should the DM do this? Okay. Is it supposed to be a gamble, or is the player supposed to know how high the attack roll is? Yeah, everyone, just don't downvote because you disagree. Doesn't provide arguments. If it comes down to game mechanics effects like shield, I would caution and I would be on the side of you need to inform their players so they can make a decision. Right? You know, breaking it down to more or less the like if the wizard saw an attack coming and it was going to hit them or require effort on their for fatigue, but we'll say hitting them for brevity's sake, they would be able to see that and then react to it. They wouldn't just be like, oh, I think it's going to completely miss me. And then maybe perhaps they would. And that would be like a perception check or some int-based check investigation to calculate the bullet to see if it was going to hit them or arrow. That sort of a thing. But in order to not slow things down, I say just, you know, you don't have to say that declare an attack roll entirely. But for someone with shield, I'll be like, hey, do you want to shield that? It'll prevent damage. Yes, go about. That's what I recommend. Keeps things going faster. The person who's using shield don't feel cheated or like they feel like they have to gamble all the time. That'd be my thing. Yeah. So let's see. My advice would be to down here. Cool. It is ultimately up to the dungeon master. Period. For me personally, since this is a game state mechanic that is dependent upon information that I assume that the character would reasonably have, e.g., a arrow flying at the wizard's face and the wizard knowing that it's about to hit them, would reasonably have the knowledge to shield and prevent them from getting hit. Period. Also, it prevents the player, you, from feeling like they have to gamble with their spell slots when I think they would reasonably have the answer. Period. Also, it helps not slow down combat for the DM. Period. Personally, I do a mix of telling and not telling. But would be telling a player more should they have shield. Period. All right. Let's wait up to Dungeon Master. For me personally, since this is a game state mechanic that is dependent upon information that I assume the character would reasonably have. So, exemplary grati. An arrow flying at the wizard's face, and the wizard knowing that it's about to hit them. For me personally, since it's a game state mechanic that's dependent upon information that I assume the character would reasonably have, I would I assume that the character would reasonably have the knowledge to shield and prevent them from getting hit. For me personally, since this is a game state mechanic that is dependent upon information that I assume that the character would reasonably have, is a Brigati, an arrow flying at the wizard's face, and the wizard knowing that it's about to hit them, the knowledge to shield to prevent them from getting hit. I assume the character would reasonably have the knowledge to shield and prevent themselves from getting hit. I want to put that at the bottom. What does shield say? Does shield say... I feel like even like how shield is written, it seems like whenever you see an attack about to hit you or an attack that would hit you, you may as a reaction get +5 AC, yada yada. Invisible barrier magic. One reaction when you take when you are hit. Yeah, so you are hit by an attack, but it's before you're dealt damage to more or less nullify it. An invisible barrier of magic force appears and protects you. Until the start of your turn, you have a +5 bonus AC, including against the triggering attack, and you take no damage from magic missile. Yeah, so it's... Okay, so the game state for shield is essentially game state confirming you are going to get hits and are about to take damage, but interrupts the damage taking state. So it's kind of a break in verisimilitude there, but you know, game mechanics kind of do that sometimes. It helps. Okay, we'll say doing so really helps not slow down combat for the DM. Down combat for the DM. Personally, I do a mix of telling and not telling, but would be telling a player or even asking would they like to shield should they have it. Be telling a player or even asking would they like to shield. Would they like to shield? Even asking. Yeah, I'll take more out. Also, it prevents players, you, from feeling like they have to gamble with their spell slots. I think they would. Slots when I think they would reasonably have the answer. Cool. That is my take on it. DMG is up to you. Rolling in the open. However, I would never hide that value unless something mysterious is going on. Shield is neither a gamble nor a roleplay factor. Game is termed. Yep. Gambles as a cost to a lot of defensive abilities. Impose disadvantage. The game intent seems to be moving towards a cost being the expenditure of a resource. Yeah, cost greater than effect. It's really more than cost, gamble, effect. Yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah, definitely rules for 5th edition. Kind of the intent is more or less not to be so gambly and things just work. So players feel like their stuff actually works and they're kind of doing something. Of course, you know, you also have, you know, just intrinsically the chance to miss due to AC and all that. But as far as expending a resource of your class or a resource of your, you know, subclass or what have you, then, or even race, like Dragonborn Breath, So yeah, real quick for the lethal dissertation, infusion. Now for shield, makes sense. The existing game rules that it would be a gamble, so far as I have not found any other feature that mitigates or boost. What the rules imply. Yeah, you know, the shield is actually a very strong spell. Can't tell you it's because Merle's is more permissive. Raw. Let's see here. Mike Merle say on this. And it comes down to really adjudication. But am I right? Wizard should know roll before shield. Can't waste it. Okay. Just about has two different triggers. Being hit by an attack or being targeted by a magic spell. Neither trigger requires you to see a die roll. I asked because Spell Shield Raw says that it's triggered when you are hit by an attack. But it says nothing about seeing the attack roll. The player's supposed to see the roll, or just to know if the attack hit. Yeah, so you're not necessarily know the attack roll, but if it would hit you. I think though, just for the, you know, facilitating and even having to break game immersion for mechanical reasons, I think it's somewhat reasonable, right? Because it literally says in Shield when you are hit by an attack. You know, being hit by an attack has more of gamist sense or more gamist terms than roleplay terms or more natural terms. Because you're not actually necessarily getting hit by losing hit points per their definition. It's getting real rules lawyery stuff. But yeah, I say it's not that big of a deal. Just move on from it, personally. But yeah, I would say definitely with Crawford's ruling, I see why you don't see the die roll. That way you can't math it or whatever. But I think it's kind of splitting hairs on something that's really too negligible. And I always defer to giving players benefit of the doubt. So. Yep. Like Wizards of the Coast has an entirely different reason for selling DM screens. It has nothing to do with the rules of the game. Yeah, I think as a DM, just flavor-wise, you also need to have a little bit of mystique, a little bit of smoke and mirrors, a little bit of illusion to the craft. I don't think everything, and of course not every DM, you know, is that, don't just give me your DM notes, obviously. But I do think some things need to be smoke and mirrors. And this is one of the things that definitely could be smoke and mirrors, but also don't have to be. You can also just let it be and just move on for the sake of combat, simplicity, and just information. That's my whole thing. So, I say this for expectancy, but PC asks something like shield or cutting words, and I tell them the number. Yeah, I mean, that's not the most unreasonable thing. Players don't get to try and bait out AC improving abilities from your monsters like that, so don't do it to them. Yeah, I would say being a gamble, I think, is not the way I want to run my DM tables, personally. Yeah, a lot of downvoting this, right? We're going to upvote it. People wouldn't disagree, and that's fine, but they shouldn't be downvoting it just because they disagree with it. That's stupid. Oop. I'm going to go ahead and edit here. Thanks for asking the question, and I hope that myself or everyone else here has helped you in some way. Period. Sorry that a lot of people here are downvoting, but it seems that you have hit a nerve with Reddit, and Redditors be like that sometimes. Period. Thanks for asking the question. I hope that myself or everyone else here has helped you in some way. Sorry that a lot of people here are downvoting, but it seems like you have hit a nerve with some Redditors, and Redditors is a word as far as I'm concerned. Downvoting might as well be one word too. And they be oh, all right. We have maybe one more here. Why did 200? Reddit, why are you just being this way today? D&D next, 100 up or 99 up votes. Oh, there's actually a downvote right there. What do you think it's missing? Reddit, what's going on? Okay. What do you think is missing from 5e? Monster subclasses, main classes go wild. Tome of Battle. Or something similar that finally expands on what marshals can do. Actually, crafting system that makes sense. Yeah, the crafting system is, I think, my biggest thing. It's so open-ended that basically they've done like the skeleton work of it, and you have to put work in and actually make it work. PHP says you can craft a total of 5 gold pieces per workday. Each workday involves 8 hours. Efficient. So this crafting system requires you to be proficient in the tools for it and takes forever to create something, only be completely counteracted with Xanathars. Yeah. They're never going to do that. Celestials and Fae. Yeah, Celestials and Fae is actually not a bad one. But Celestials you're probably not going to fight since you're inherently good aligned, at least as far as the basis for the campaigns. Fire-based Sorcerer Origin, an official book. Yeah, Elemental Sorcerer, Storm Sorcerer, Tempest Cleric, Elemental Adept. Magic items, mundane equipment. Actually, that's not bad. All things to think about. What tier 4 material? Yeah, you're gonna have to get into the what's the old gods and demigods, that sort of stuff. Killer monsters, long range, weapons and warlords, Dark Sun. Okay, I think we're gonna comment here, but it's interesting to read. I do agree with, you know, most of the stuff. Not all, but yeah, definitely some. I'm gonna go go back to here. back to home. And all right, I think we are going to go ahead and head off here. Before we do, we are going to raid. Okay, let's see who we are here with in Dungeons and Dragons. Who's streaming Dungeons and Dragons right now? Who do we got? Okay, there we go. The DM layer thing. Go ahead and raid them real fast. We get all of our ducks in a row. This. And let's see. All right, everybody. We'll be back next week with our new employee here at the D&D Help Desk. I think you're going to like him. We'll go ahead and raid the DM layer here. Make sure to remember your raid kit and behave. I will see you all next week.